Now we have Barry Murphy in studio. We're going to go straight though to Mayo, I think. Is Dara Callery there? Hello, Dara.
Good morning. Hiya, Damien. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. Thank you for coming on the programme this morning. A little bit of confusion.
No problem. Good to hear your voice, Cam. You're missing national airways.
Okay, the line is not great. I know you're in a car in Ballyhaunis, so we'll see how it goes. You're Deputy Leader of Fianna Fail and a TD in Mayo. We mentioned earlier on that we didn't have any of the party leadership on the programme, and it's good to have you on, even at this late stage. We're not going to get into full policies at present. Can I just ask you very succinctly, I suppose, will you consider going into government with Sinn Féin?
No, Damien, we made it very clear that we won't, and Micheál Martin has been very clear that he wouldn't. In 2016, he could have been Taoiseach with campaign support, and he didn't take that chance because we feel, I think events this week have shown that they are not fit for office, and also their manifesto will put €380 million worth of taxes onto the backs of Irish people. It will take 430 million away from local government funding, from city and county councils such as Waterford, absolutely decimate local services if it proceeds in its current fashion. So there are many reasons that we would not go into government with Sinn Féin. We would not be able to put a stable government together. And the most important thing we can do now in this election is put a stable government together to deal with housing, to deal with healthcare. And the best way of doing that in Waterford is by voting for Mary Butler and Eddie Mulligan tomorrow. A government led by Fianna Fail will deal with those problems and deal with them urgently.
So your options then would be to go in with the Labour Party and with the Greens and some independents potentially. That would be that would be potentially very, very unstable. Is it not just the case? The only reason you won't go into with Sinn Féin is that they would want more ministers, and if you have two smaller parties, then you're going to get more ministerial posts.
Not at all. Not at all. We don't give any of those considerations. Were we thinking that way, Damien, and thinking about numbers of ministers, we'd have gone in with them in 2016. It's far more fundamental than that. We will not be able to put a government together. And then look, we're being very clear. Nobody will vote tomorrow thinking that we are going to go into government with Sinn Féin. We had a chance in 2016. We didn't do it. We will not be doing it in 2020. Instead, we're focused on our own policies, on delivering extra houses, on delivering healthcare, that's focused in the community, focused on your GP, your pharmacist, on extra home health hours. And that's Mary Butler has done massive campaigning on in terms of primary care and care for older people. Our policies, Damien, are the ones that we feel have the solutions for the challenges facing the island. We have the energy, but more importantly, we have the urgency to deal with them in Fianna Fail.
Dara, we're going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid. The line isn't great. Listen, thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
No problem, Damien.
Thank you very much. Dara Callery there, Deputy Leader of Fianna Fail and TD for Mayo, on a bad line, unfortunately, from Mayo. I wonder why the line is so bad up in Mayo, Barry, huh?
Rural Ireland.
Rural Ireland. Come into the microphone a little bit there, please. Listen, thanks for coming into us. You are well known in business circles, working out in Tom Murphy's garages. And how's business going, by the way?
Business is good. We've had a good start to the year, so hopefully we can keep it going.
Yeah, because people talk about how things are changing and stuff like that, and car sales have gone down a little bit. But
car sales are always a good measure, because if things are improving in the economy, people look to buy luxury goods, and you can't get much more luxury than a car, I suppose. But yeah, look, it's been a good start to the year, but it's all about, with our business, it's very front loaded. So once we can get over the first couple of months, and if things still keep going, we know we're in for a good year.
Or a luxury item like a diamond ring, as we're talking to the ladies earlier.
Yeah, I heard the girls on the way over. Yeah.
Listen, thanks for coming into us. You have been on before. We've been talking to you before. You are a survivor, a victim of Bill Keneally.
Yep.
And a commission was set up to investigate matters surrounding that.
Yes.
What is the latest on the commission?
The latest on the commission, I know we actually got notification last night that we've got to go and meet our solicitor next Friday in Dublin. But, prior to this, myself and some of the boys, we went up to the commission last November to give evidence, we thought. And then all of the legal trickery, I suppose you'd call it, started, and that Garda barristers objected to this and Tusla barristers objected to that, and the whole thing was adjourned supposedly until December, when at that time the judge ordered that full disclosure comes from all parties. We are now on the 6th of February or 7th of February, and that disclosure hasn't happened. Our solicitors they're tearing their hair out. They're not getting the information that they want. And as I say, we're a little bit in limbo. We are genuinely in limbo because we don't know where we stand. We were supposed to sit in December. We were supposed to sit in January. As I say, we're now in February.
Because it was a year and a half ago in the summertime, I think in May, when originally the government announced that it was going to go ahead.
Yes.
Even before that, and then they signed it off. There was a law. The acts were passed.
Yep.
Commission was to be set up. So the commission have effectively been working behind the scenes,
yes,
whatever they've been doing, for a year and a half, and they've only had 1 day of 1 hour of a hearing.
We gave our statements some time ago, but the commission were, as they say, working behind the scenes.
But that's an awful day.
It's so frustrating, it's so frustrating. And I will say this, in fairness to Judge Hickson, he is officiating over this, but it appears that there was a massive breakdown of communications between his legal people and the various barristers involved. Now, I'm not a legal guy, I don't know, but I mean, look, these guys are playing a game. And obviously they're on a big retainer every time they appear. But
and
we won't talk about that.
And they would argue that basically procedures have been followed, and procedures and they have to go through proper procedures, and documents have to be handed over in the right way and all that.
The judge ordered this last November, that the documents be handed over. This is 3 months later. Now, supposedly some of the information we were told is that some of the Garda documents have to be redacted. And that's what's taking so long.
Okay, and there may be a lot of... We don't know the ins and outs of this.
We don't.
But we need to find out, because this is something that I suppose it's still hanging over you. It's still there. Like, Bill Keneally is serving a sentence. 14 years he got for paedophilia. And it's still an issue. And it still comes to your door in some respects. Like,
literally.
Yeah.
Look, it is. And, Bill Keneally is serving a sentence. Myself and my fellow survivors are also serving a sentence, and we asked for justice, and we asked for information, and we asked for the people that covered this up to be brought to task a long time ago. I sat in this office with Kevin, with Billy, in, I think it was the summer of 2016. Bill Keneally was convicted almost 4 years to the day, and I suppose, look, I'm very nervous here this morning, Damien, and I'm not normally nervous talking to you. We know each other very well. But I'm nervous, I'm angry, I'm shocked. I mean, my wife called me yesterday at 4 o'clock and she said, I've just had a canvasser to the door of the house. And you're not going to believe who it was.
And Brendan Keneally says... consistently, he knew nothing about Bill Keneally's abuse.
Yeah.
We know in 2002, because this was reported in the paper and he spoke to me about this, that he did refer a certain matter when somebody spoke to him for counselling.
Yes.
And he consistently says he knew nothing about it, and that's what he said, and that's what we believe from what he's saying. So he's canvassing for Mary Butler, and he called to the door yesterday, and you've had obviously discussions about this internally within yourselves over the last number of years regarding Fianna Fail in the past. I suppose the fact that this comes to your door and it's upsetting on a personal level, and you just want to see closure to it all, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, I just say this. I am apolitical. I am not involved in any political party, any which way. If I'm voting, I'm voting for Waterford, and that's the only time. I don't take an interest in politics. I turn it off on the TV. But when this happens, I mean, particularly the fact that I wasn't there, my wife was there.
And Brendan might well argue, I haven't spoken to Brendan, he might well say, yeah, you're just canvassing, just as normal, canvassing any houses, and also might just say, well, he didn't want to cause any upset, obviously. He wouldn't want to do that,
But why would a major political party allow a man who's had ties to a convicted paedophile canvass?
Well, what he did was basically the situation that he said there was no situation that... Sorry. What do you want to see at the end of all this? What do you want to see at the end of all this?
Well, I want to see our commission go ahead.
Yes.
And I want to see the guards that were involved. I want to see the politicians that were involved. answer the questions, and
if
tell
once
us
asked.
what they knew and why they covered up.
Yes. And again, they would argue, and the guards have said, that there was no cover-up in the past. They say the Commission will find out whatever is done. The paedophile has been convicted. Politicians would say as well, they can answer questions absolutely 100% and let the Commission deal with that. So the urgency of all this, and again, the Keneally family would say that they knew nothing about what Bill Keneally was doing. They would say that. What do you want to see ultimately? This Commission to be sorted very, very quickly?
Absolutely. And we want transparency. We want transparency. I want the people, and I'm not going to name names to get anyone into trouble, but I want the people who are implicated in this, and the names are with the Hickson Commission. They're being called as witnesses. I want them to have the courage and stand up and say, we did wrong. And then we can move on and we can get closure. Barry Murphy, thank you very much for joining us this morning. And mind yourself and your family. Will do. Now, keep your texts and your comments coming in. 083 333 975. Damien, I was on to the council about my gas boiler, which is not working. I was told it was sourced out to the gas company. I asked them for the gas company phone number. I was told they've no number for them. I asked what did they do in this wet weather and how am I going to get my gas working, and I didn't get an answer to that. Damien, I live in the Lisduggan area. Postman delivered for other party leaflets. Only one politician did call. Damien, Dara was talking rubbish. The Sinn Féin manifesto is totally costed. And that is from Tom. Other people, Sinn Féin, are giving out about Sinn Féin, and other people praising Sinn Féin and their policies as they have. Now, I was out and about yesterday with... in Dungarvan. Had a lovely night in Dungarvan last night with the book launch for Stephanie Hickey, and I'll mention some of the people that were there last night in a minute. Firstly, I got the views of some people in Dungarvan Shopping Centre, the wonderful Dungarvan Shopping Centre, about the election in terms of how have they felt about the election? Has it enthused them? Have they got excited? Is it boring? What did they think about it? This is what they had to say. Damien Tiernan, WLR, how's it going?
Yeah, not so bad. And yourself?
Good. Are you voting in this election?
I am.
Just asking people, what did they think of the campaign, or did it excite you, or did it get you excited?
Not really, no. It's pretty much of a muchness. And there's been a thing on the radio all day about these the posters going up and what have you. I think they're an absolute waste of time myself. But no, I know I'm going to vote for. I made my decision long before anybody.
So you weren't swayed one way or the other?
Not really, no. I mean, they're like, in the UK, they're acting up like kids half the time. They're having arguments over nothing, and, and nobody will agree with the other party, whatever the other party are thinking. Whether it's a good idea or not, they'll still disagree with it,
Spot on.
So it's just a strange lot they are, like kids.
How's it going?
Good.
We're just doing a little bit on the election. Did it inspire you? It's over now. Did it change your mind at all? Did it get you excited?
Not a lot. Not a lot. It was,
the debates, did you watch any of them? Did you feel engaged?
I didn't. I know I'm voting for, so a local man here in town, and
that's what it was.
I'm going to stick with him.
Very good. Thanks very much.
No problem.
Thanks, lads. See you. The election's just over now. Did you get excited by the whole thing?
Not really, to be honest. Very confused by it all. Don't know who to go for.
Did you get excited about any of the debates or anything like that?
No, to be honest, I didn't watch any of the debates at all. Just kind of saw bits and pieces on Facebook and social media and stuff.
Would that influence you, some of the Facebook stuff maybe? Yeah, you get some of your information from social media.
That's where most of my information would come from, is social media, like on Snapchat and stuff like that, or on Facebook. That's where I'd see most of the news. I wouldn't really read the newspaper or anything like that. So,
do you listen to WR sometimes?
Oh yeah, sure, in the car the whole time.
I have to say that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Definitely, no bother.
Now that the election is over, did it excite you? Did you get excited by the election at all?
No. Would you?
I don't know. A lot of people didn't seem to get excited about it.
No.
Did you watch any of the debates or anything?
I did.
What did you think?
Same old. Yep.
Just didn't excite you? And
no.
Do you know, again, you don't have to say, but do you know who you're voting for? Had you your mind made up beforehand? Did your mind change at all?
I'm giving one vote.
Just one?
One.
Even though we had Seamus on today saying vote for 4, 5, 6 or 7. No, just the one.
One. That's it. One. One vote. That's it.
No way going 2 or 3.
Nope. 1.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Fed up of it.
You'd be sick of it.
Would, yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
This is the first time I am not going to vote.
Really?
Absolutely. I couldn't wait to be 18 to vote. Honestly. And I voted in everything. Every election, everything that was on, I voted for it. But this year, there's nobody I trust, there's nobody I believe in going forward that I would actually vote for.
And do you feel sad about that?
I do. I feel very sad. I feel very disappointed that there isn't anybody that I can actually vote for, that I have faith in.
And what about the idea that, sure, vote for somebody, you can't waste your vote. People fought and died for the vote and all that sort of stuff.
I feel I'd be just voting for the sake of voting.
And you don't want to
and
do
I
that.
wouldn't be being fair to myself. I wouldn't, respect my own opinion if I voted just because I was being bullied into it.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Well, you sound like you've thought about it a lot.
Oh, a lot, yeah. There is nobody there, as I said, that I feel confident in, And I just think all the promises they're making us, we'll give you this, we'll give free bus passes or whatever. Where's the money going to come? Do they really think we're stupid? Do you know? Because if they give it with one hand, they have to take it with the other. Do you know? And all these fake, and I believe they're absolutely fake promises. I think they're not even on the ground. They don't really know what people want. It's just their own imagination is running away with them, and they're coming up with these ideas
themselves. Should be run like a business.
Yes.
Not being run like a business.
Yes, exactly.
They don't understand business, how to pay for this, that and the other, and you have to get this in to pay for that.
And I'm sorry, a lot of the politicians that are in there now are people whose businesses have failed.
Yeah.
So they're not the people to be running the country. Absolutely not the people to be running the country.
No. Business, we need business.
Yeah.
What do you think about it all?
Do you know what I thought now was that they were all saying the exact same thing that I'm hearing with the last 30 years. So, giving away my age.
So it wouldn't inspire you?
No, it would not. In the slightest.
Will you go out and vote?
I will vote for the simple reason that I'll use my vote, but in saying that, I don't think it'll make one bit of a difference to me as an ordinary person.
That's sad, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is very sad, and sure, if we think that way, God help us, what way do the younger people think? So anyway.
Thanks. Damien Tiernan, WR, how's it going? You well?
Nice to meet you.
Good, I'm just doing a bit about the election.
Yeah.
Did it inspire you at all?
No, I have absolutely no clue what's going on. I'm not paying any attention to any of it, to be absolutely honest. I'm absolutely the worst person ever to talk to.
That's okay. Will you vote?
I will vote, yeah. I always vote.
Yeah. And will you vote then along party lines? You don't have to tell me how you're going to vote, but
no,
about family lines or somebody you know?
Someone sent me on a thing for an app. It's a website and it's you pick what
topics are interesting for you,
not
is
even
it?
that, what your beliefs are, and then it comes up with what the same beliefs what parties have, so they're along the lines of that. Yeah,
so that's how you'll make up your mind.
That's how I did. How they're saying that they're helping people is how this coming up. So yeah.
All right. And what issues would be important for you?
Housing, medical care is a big thing for me. Mostly housing, like mortgage, and I'm by myself now and I'm young and I can't get a mortgage and it's hard and all that kind of stuff, so all those kind of things I look for. So
okay, so you will vote anyway.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. My aunt always said someone died to give us that vote, so you have to do it.
Deise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
With thanks to Mulligan's Pharmacy, over 60 years together thanks to you.
The Grand DFS sale is now on. Plus, enjoy our best ever prices on many sofas. DFS.
Look at the size of that jackpot!
Derek, you got your binoculars the wrong way round.
I'm trying to fit it all in.
Seriously, it's too big to miss.
Tonight's EuroMillions mega draw is a guaranteed €130 million. It's too big to miss. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. Share the dream.
So myhome.ie has houses all over County Waterford.
Correct.
Well, how about Dungarvan?
Yes, we do.
And Ardmore?
Yes.
Kilmacthomas?
Yes.
Lismore?
Yep.
Capoquin? Yep.
With 20 local property agents and hundreds of Waterford homes on our website, if you're not looking at myhome.ie, you're looking in the wrong place. myhome.ie, your local Waterford expert.
They say you can't buy it. They say you can't hurry it. But when love strikes, it's all you need. Share it with everyone with new love stamps from Unpust, featuring removable stickers that are guaranteed to make your messages that bit more, well, lovely. Love stamps, available now at your local post office or unpust.com/shop. And for a limited time, get €2 off a book of 10. What's not to love? An Post, for your world. Terms and conditions apply. See onpost.com for details.
Deise Today with Damien Tiernan on WLR.
With thanks to Mulligan's. Did you know you could collect your Blue Club points online? See mulliganspharmacy.com.
Now, welcome back to the programme. I'm joined by Johnny O'Connor. Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning.
I'm joined by Mary Frances Ryan. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Damien.
And joined by Kieran. Good morning, Kieran.
Morning, Damien.
Foley, Munster Express, News and Star, and Johnny does work with the Munster and with RTE. We're going to have our election, I suppose, roundup, our discussion, our panel about how things have gone. Firstly, folks, are you tired of it all? Are you enthused? Do you like elections, Johnny?
I do. I like elections. I like poring over figures, not just for Waterford, but for other places. It's I'm just interested in it, and I find it fascinating. Yeah.
Mary Frances?
I do like it. I like being out at the count centre and, you know, the counts and seeing the machinations and the emotion.
Kieran?
Yeah, I do like it, Damien, and I enjoy listening to people's opinions and what riles people, and even people that you might assume mightn't necessarily be totally engaged with the political process that seem to really get into the swing of it at election time. And I did feel, though, it did seem quite long. I thought when the election was called first, it seemed like a short time frame, but it's probably because so much has been happening every single day that I think most people will probably breathe a sigh of relief once Saturday's over.
I think, though, that what maybe we should say, you know, before we get to the Mary Frances, as you said, you enjoy the count centre, but that's a blood sport, you know.
Yeah, what does that say about me?
No, but it's. I think we should really congratulate all the candidates. It's a very brave and a very civic thing to do, to put yourself forward before your peers, before the public. And I think people, you know, people can be cynical, and sometimes they've reason to be cynical. But at the same time, it's a brave thing to do, to go out and put your name before that. And then because when you're elected, it's great, but when you're not, I've seen over the years, I've seen hard men in tears and hard women in tears, and it's like a form of rejection.
And even with the local elections last May, it was quite sad to see a number of long-serving councillors that, you know, that day is really the end of a chapter, and in some cases a 20-year chapter. So it is a really emotional occasion.
Oh yeah, over the years I've seen, as I said, hardened politicians in tears, and they tell you after they feel it's a form of rejection.
Yeah. People texting in 083 333 975, text or WhatsApp, or you can call 051846123. John phoned in to say, do people really need a politician to call at the door to help them make up their mind about voting? It would be much better if they did a little research on how well the politicians and parties have performed over the years. Other people texting and ringing in about the issues then. Michelle Rowan, a community employment supervisor, rang to say she's met Leo twice in the last 7 days. He knows exactly how much the cost is. She might come on to talk to us about that. Other people talking about voting cards, and others saying that people haven't called at their doors, people still talking about the pensions. Are you surprised at the end of this 3-week campaign, folks, are you surprised the way it's gone? Are you surprised at what's happened the last 3 weeks? Elections take on a momentum of their own, Mary Frances. Did you expect to be sitting here 3 weeks on thinking, God, yeah, I didn't think the pensions or the black and tan issue or the Sinn Féin issue would have come up? Or what's your general thoughts on it? I
probably wouldn't have seen Sinn Féin, the surge of Sinn Féin, but that would be, in all reality, it's completely understandable. And I think that has been probably the most interesting element of this campaign. And to see the three leaders, Sinn Féin, Fianna Fail and Fine Gael, debating side by side, that was hugely new this time round. And I think that was really interesting. And definitely of benefit to the electorate having Sinn Féin there, because they do represent, they've huge following now.
Well, in the opinion polls they have, would say 20-23%, and yet on their last election, which was the local elections, they were quite abysmal in lots of parts of the country, so they're still only on 16-17% in terms of the vote that comes out. So we'll just have to wait and see.
We will have to wait and see, and it might not, they've come across very strong up to now, but I suppose a little bit like the environmental green wave. I think that wave might not be as big as it seems either.
Yeah, we don't know. And then you have obviously the issue that was brought up about their past and that affecting them maybe in the latter part of the campaign, Kieran.
Yeah, and it certainly could do so for many people. Many voters will find it hard to separate maybe modern day Sinn Féin with the past, and even if it comes to voting for a specific candidate, while some people may be inclined to go for the candidate on their performance and on them themselves, will the attachment to Sinn Féin be enough to guarantee that vote?
Yeah, and you've said that, Johnny, consistently, all three of you have, that personal interaction with candidates and what people have done for them over the years can be more of a sway than any sort of a national thing.
It can, and it can even be less than that. I mean, there's loads of surveys and studies done over the years that, and I'm not being flippant about this, but sometimes people will vote for somebody because they just like their smile or they like the look of them. Or but, I mean, I know that sounds silly and ridiculous, but there's been lots and lots of serious studies done over the years that can say that. That's why appearances on television or on radio or even on their posters are so important to me. It's not always what they say, it's how they come across. And for me, I am surprised that Sinn Féin are so far ahead. I'd say they're sorry now that they haven't more candidates in certain constituencies. The only thing I think, though, that when everything is said and done, to me, the one thing that's there throughout, they're talking about the economy, they're talking housing and homes. To me, that's the big thing. And if I think if Fianna Fail or Fine Gael or whoever, the main parties, they've got some fright. And surely, that's what I can't understand. Years and years ago, you had these old men or old women in the back rooms who moved everything and they could see things. Nowadays, they all seem to be shooting from their hip. And to me, it's a very basic thing that if people, because I don't think the Irish as a nation, we're not fractious. We're not out on the streets every second week, say like in France with the yellow jackets and everything like that. And I don't think we're begrudgers. And if everybody has a home or everybody's doing well then they don't begrudge the guy who has an island or a jet plane, and they'd say maybe that's me someday. But when you leave people with nothing, that's when people get upset. And I think all the main parties, one of the reasons this country is successful, say from foreign investment, it's a stable country. And when you have whole thousands of people with no homes, that creates instability.
It does. We're going to talk about specifics regarding Waterford now in a second. Firstly, I want to give a special mention to some of the people I met last night in Dungarvan at the book launch. Patty Cotter, Nora O'Flynn, Linda Dunford, Miss Tutty and Catherine, I think, O'Hanrahan. Was it? Christine O'Hanrahan. Hello to all of you, and to Stephanie and all the Hickeys and all the Fahy family, and especially Mrs. Hickey had a dance with her. Great woman for the dancing. Stay with us. We're going to talk about who's going to get elected in Waterford. We're going to reveal it all here, aren't we, folks?
We'll look into our crystal ball.
Oh, the crystal ball. We have 11 candidates in the Waterford constituency. We have an electorate of around 84,000 probably will be. We're not sure. It was 81,000 the last time, so it's gone up a little bit, maybe not that much. The quota normally comes in at around 10,300, something around that. 10,700 in 2011, 9,900. So for a candidate to get 10,000 first preference votes, they'll be very close to getting the quota. Who do you think is going to top the poll?
I think David Cullinan is going to top the poll. I think he was very close last time out. He was close behind Mary Butler, and his term as a TD will really have stood to him, his national profile, his local profile. And I think also the benefit that Sinn Féin or the boost that they're seeing nationally. I know we talked about the past, but I think with housing such a huge issue, and it's not so much about what Sinn Féin have done, but it's about what Fine Gael haven't done and the distrust in Fianna Fail.
Because other people, parties can shoot themselves in the foot in that respect, isn't it? You can lose an election, not necessarily win it.
Exactly. I think that's ultimately what's happening here. It's Fine Gael losing rather than Sinn Féin winning. But I think in Waterford it'll be really interesting to see the way the figures pan out, because it will show how strong Sinn Féin is in Waterford, and maybe again they should have ran a second candidate. In terms of Fine Gael and that whole losing this election, I mean it's only 9 years ago that we had the IMF on the streets in Dublin, and
they would argue they've done very well, getting the economy back on track. And Leo Varadkar was on this morning saying it's only had money for the last 2 years. So whether the electorate go along that line and believe him. Can I ask you about Fine Gael, please, locally? We've got Damien Geoghegan running in the West. We've discussed it over the last few weeks that the West has nearly always returned a candidate. We've got John Pratt running in the West, and we've got John Cummins here in the city for Fine Gael. Johnny O'Connor, you said that you believe that the John Cummins vote, whatever that might be, will be the crucial turning point in the election in Waterford.
Yes, because first, I think Fine Gael will get a seat. I think that's it would be a huge surprise if they didn't. And whether it'll be John Cummins or Damien Geoghegan. Now, Damien Geoghegan is in the West. He's in Deise territory. Fianna Fail don't have a candidate in the West. So I'd be looking at the farming vote, I'd be looking at the rural vote in particular. But then, to John Cummins' benefit, he has the higher proportion of voters from, say, Kilmac, Tramore, Portlaw, all the way back to the city. But...
And considering, Paddy Coffey in the last general election, 2016, he got 7,200 votes, 13% of the vote. So would you be expecting John Cummins to be hitting 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 first preferences?
If Matt Shanahan wasn't in the race, Matt Shanahan is... I mean, I don't know whether he would like me saying this or not, but a lot of people regard Matt Shanahan as Fine Gael, and there's a lot of Fine Gael people support him, and I think his family has Fine Gael connections. So,
and he would be quite critical of Fine Gael policy in the past, and he would say he's not Fine Gael, he's not Fianna Fáil, he's standing on his own 2 feet.
So, will he do more damage to John Cummins or more damage to Damien Geoghegan? I don't know, but to me, it's like a third
Fine Gael candidate.
So I really don't know, but the quota, you were talking about the quota, will be interesting, because the quota, how you get the quota is the valid poll is divided by the number of vacancies plus one.
Yes.
And I think you're right around 10. If there's a high turnout, it could be 11,000. You don't know.
The total valid poll over the last 20 years has been ranging between 51,000 and 54,000.
Yeah.
Kieran, what's your thoughts on John Halligan's vote? John Halligan got 8,306 votes last election. Where's that going to go?
That's going to be very interesting,
is it?
Damien. Yeah, it could be dispersed to many different candidates. And John Halligan in the past would have received a lot of transfers himself. He would have been very transfer friendly. It is going to be certainly interesting to see will that go to another city-based candidate, which it probably will. Again, talking about candidates, and we'll say like Sinn Féin, I would say David Cullinane is in a good position to receive a lot of the Halligan votes, because I believe people view him not necessarily first and foremost as Sinn Féin. They view him as David Cullinane. And a lot of people do recognise that he has been at the forefront since 2016 in terms of a lot of issues for Waterford. He is quite vocal. He's active in terms of engaging with the media. He has been a presence on our TV screens. He's often seen standing up in the Dáil. So I would believe he would be well placed to take a lot of John Halligan's votes. And again, I would agree with Mary Frances to possibly top the poll, because people of course, you'll have people voting for the Sinn Féin candidate, but I believe it will also be a vote for David Cullinane. And I'd agree with Johnny in terms of Matt Shanahan. He has potential there to really disrupt the Fine Gael vote for both John Cummins and Damien Geoghegan, because obviously he's based around the city here. He got huge support in City East, where he topped the poll last May, but also within the county, which will certainly damage Damien Geoghegan's vote. He has huge connections and support throughout the county, and especially with that farming rural vote.
Carol from Hillview has said politicians are elected to legislate, not to do parish pump deals. Another text to Richard, living in Ferrybank in the Kilkenny electorate area. He says for the first time in many years he feels he might not be able to vote. Not one of the Kilkenny TDs has 24/7 care as part of their manifesto. He says they're willing to resign over the border extension. A line on the road, but not to save people's lives. Quick mention as well, the Euro Millions jackpot guaranteed 130 million tonight. WLR giving cash giveaways on the social media pages. Play responsibly. Fianna Fáil Mary Butler last time got 10,600 first preferences. She got elected on the first count, a 20% share of the vote. Fianna Fáil are running two candidates this time, Eddie Mulligan and Mary Butler. Mary Francis, where do you think Mary Butler or Eddie Mulligan are going to go on this? How do you think that Fianna Fáil vote is going to work out?
I think Eddie Mulligan will take some Fianna Fáil, and it will eat into Mary Butler's. Not significantly enough to unseat her, I don't think. I think, though, that Eddie Mulligan is another one of these that's not just Fianna Fáil. He's a city-based candidate, and he will attract, that kind of movable voter who's not attached to party. So he could eat into Cummins' vote a little bit there in terms of representing the city. Will he do well enough to take a seat? It might be more that where the votes that go to him could damage others. We haven't mentioned John Pratt now yet this morning.
John Pratt and Marco Kohasik, the two of them, both of them would argue very strongly that they have a big part to play in this election, and the others as well. Again, we've got Una Dunphy, we've got Bernadette O'Sullivan, we've got Ray Nua. They'd all argue they have a big say.
Bernadette Phillips, yeah. John Pratt, he's a really difficult one to call in this election. One thing he has that's really kind of shone is the likeability factor, and he's kind of just he goes his own path, and he seems to be straight up kind of politician. He's very far west in terms of being based in Tallow, but having been the mayor of Waterford for the past year, his profile has increased a huge amount.
Yeah.
And I think
they did well in the local election. And the Halligan, you think some of the Halligan vote will go to Labour?
Could go to him, but I think Kieran's right in terms of a lot of it will go to David Cullinane.
Yeah. Well, traditionally a lot of Halligan's vote would transfer with Cullinane, but John Pratt would hope, and again Seamus Ryan, local councillor, left candidate. So there's a lot of unknowns in this already, isn't there? There really is. Another text, somebody giving out about you, Johnny, there, saying that you shouldn't be calling Matt Shanahan a third Fine Gael candidate. There's a massive difference from a man with family ties to Fine Gael and being a Fine Gael candidate. He thinks this is not. He's definitely not.
I didn't say he was a Fine Gael candidate. I said that there was a lot of Fine Gael voters would be attracted to him.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There is the question over will he align himself or will he actually jump to?
Well, he's answered that quite honestly.
Yeah,
he said consistently, and I've had him on this programme, and he said he will fight for Waterford, and that's what he's going to do. And if he has to align himself at some stage in the future, he'll go back to the people that are, I suppose, working closely with him, and he'll see it. And
There's
he'll
nothing wrong with that. I mean, the Dáil is littered with independents who managed to secure good deals by aligning themselves with a party for a period of time.
Yeah. And they would say that that's how you deliver for an area, and that's politics. Yeah,
it's about all the different manoeuvring and all the things that go on to try and fight your corner and to get what you can for your local area.
Yeah. I do think Eddie Mulligan will do better than a lot of people think. I think he'll be quite strong.
Okay.
And again, I'm not going to get up people's false hopes or things like that. But who I'm hearing a lot about in the last week is Bernadette Phillips. I don't know whether people will go out and vote for him, but I'm hearing a lot about her.
I think she's been a very impressive
People are
candidate
mentioning her
in
a
this
lot.
campaign, and she's used a lot of her experience through different community groups, the Waterford Older People's Council, for example, to connect with people. And even in the debates, she has been very impressive, I believe, with how she equipped herself. Very good speaker. So even if she's not successful in this election, I'd say she's certainly one to watch for the future.
Back to what Johnny was saying at the start, and candidates putting themselves forward for election, and it's a really tough thing to do. And I suppose it really has to be said that independents that go forward for election without the backing of party, it is a very brave thing to do. So for any of those candidates like Bernadette Phillips, the pure independent candidate, and Matt Shanahan, although he has some political background because he's a councillor now on Waterford Council, but it's a lonely and very brave thing to do.
Just to remind people, in the last election, Mary Butler 10,000 first preference, David Cullinan 9,700, John Halligan 8,300, John Deise 7,600. They were the top four, just slightly. John Deise slightly ahead of Paddy Coffey, and they were the four that got elected. Whereas if you look in the 2011 election, John Deise 10,700, Paddy Coffey 9,600, Ciara Conway 5,500. She was 2,000 behind Brendan Keneally of Fianna Fail, and she got elected because of transfer. So that Labour Party transfer-friendly approach, and Marco Colsig would argue that he's going to be transfer-friendly.
You see, Ciara was a surprise.
Yes.
But when the election was over, when you look back at it, it wasn't, because an awful lot of people were saying, well, she's done Garvan. But she had a huge Tramore and Waterford City connections as well. So she wasn't that far apart at all.
The consistent thing, sorry Mary Frances, one little thing, the consistent thing over the years is, again, looking back, you have to get at least 5,000 first preferences to be in with a chance of getting elected. That's what's coming across. Even Ollie Wilkinson in 2007, he got 5,900 and he was beaten in the last. He didn't.
Yeah, there's a very good article in today's Irish Times and just talking generally, and it says that really you need to get elected, you need at least around half a quota.
Half a quota.
But there are exceptions, and there have been exceptions.
Mary Frances.
I think just back to the Ciara Conway, Fianna Fail had taken an absolute hammering there, and it created a space that there isn't the same space in this election, I don't think. I think Fine Gael is going to suffer, but not to the level that Fianna Fail suffered back then, and it created openings and opportunities for others to.
I think you're right, and I think whoever is elected, I think there's going to be an absolute dogfight for that last seat.
Absolutely.
Maybe for the last two seats.
Perhaps, yeah.
The last two seats.
There won't be much.
And what Damien said about Marco Colsig being very transfer friendly, that's where the environmental issue will come into play. It mightn't be people's first issue, but it could be their second issue where they want to make a point and give him their second vote. But again, like you say, Damien, the first preferences, having the certain amount of first preferences is crucial.
And it will be interesting to see the strength of that Tramore vote with Marco Colsig being based in Tramore. Will that be enough maybe to secure enough first preference votes to put him in contention for a seat? And of course the climate change is back on the agenda again today with the school children protesting. While it hasn't been front and centre throughout a lot of the campaign, it's taken a back seat because of a lot of other issues, but it is kind of under the spotlight again today, so that might be something that will be on people's minds. And
people protesting regarding childcare during the week, and getting a lot of texts coming in from CE supervisors giving out about the government's view about the not paying this Labour Court recommendation. We're not going to deal with that today now because we'll deal with it on Monday or Tuesday of next week because there's so much in it. Damien, can we not have any politics 24 hours before an election? The moratorium is at 2 o'clock today, so we won't be discussing it, so we're able to get it in for another 2 minutes. I'm going to ask you to nail your colours to the mast now, folks. Here's the big one. Mary Frances, who's going to be elected in Waterford?
David Cullinan.
Okay.
Mary Butler. Damien Gagan. And John Pratt.
Johnny O'Connor?
Not in any particular order, but probably David Cullinan, Mary Butler, one of the Fine Gael, and I haven't a clue who the last one was.
I prefer to go with Johnny's, in fairness.
Kieran Foley.
I'm going to stick with the 4 names that I mentioned when you first asked us the first Friday in January, Damien, and I'll say Mary Butler, David Cullinan, Matt Shanahan and John Cummins.
And John Cummins. Okay. So you're thinking,
you
John,
could be on the money.
We just don't know. It's funny. There's, like, you talk to so many people, and there's, as you say, a couple of certainties that people believe. And then David Cullinan would not want to put out the view that he is definitely going to be elected, because that might stop people going out and vote for him, or even people.
Yeah.
So he would say there's nothing certain, and all
and
the
again,
politicians
even
would
the
say.
polls, Damien. Like, I've been surprised in the past week how much emphasis has been placed in the polls. Like, we should kind of have learned from past experiences across the water in the UK, across the water in the US, of when polls have really got it wrong. They got it wrong with Brexit. They got it wrong with the 2015 UK election. They were significantly out. So, I mean, people shouldn't be too swayed by the figures that they've been hearing during the week.
And another major thing is the turnout. How turnout's going to be. Saturday, it's the first time in the history, or once before 1918, and it's going to be lash and rain tomorrow. There's going to be a storm tomorrow.
So young people, if you're listening, you play a huge role in this election. And I really hope young people turn out.
As long as you're over 18.
As long as you're over 18. But I think the complacency there, and they might think that they don't have influence. And I think you don't have influence if you don't vote.
You'd agree with that, Johnny?
Certainly. Again, I think people... sometimes they underestimate just the great privilege of living in a democracy and having your vote and being able to change things, because there are so many countries and Western type countries in the world where that's just not possible. One of the great things in this country is I can go down, or anybody can go down to John Roberts Square, stand on a box and cut the tail out of everyone and anyone, and I'm not arrested and taken away. That's a great privilege to have, and we should never underestimate it, because there's an awful lot of countries you can't do that.
So say all of us. Johnny, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Mary Francis, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kieran, and I really appreciate you coming in over the last 4 weeks. Really, genuinely do. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Damien.